Hi, I'm Ashley Adamson, and I just got back from Pride Parade. Did you go out to Pride Parade? How was it? I was on the float, one of the floats, and was just waving to people as I was helping the guy that I'm dating just record his DJ set, which I'll be publishing soon, probably on his YouTube channel, maybe on mine as well, if you want to see me dancing. But this is kind of like a response video to my last video on Pride, and also like processing after Pride. Like, spoiler alert, I didn't get shot. And it was stupid of me to think so because, I mean, I'm just an anxious person, but I think the associations with Pride, LGBTQ, and all of that, like the social media and how that creates messaging and stories and the drama. I mean, also, and like the fact that people get shot in my neighborhood and people get shot at like going to music festivals around here in Washington, it did seem like it was a distinct possibility. However, there was so much police presence that it felt like at least, you know, there's some defensiveness there. But like that aside, I think I forgot, and I think I've just forgotten about this. I've forgotten about sort of the most fundamental thing to Pride that makes it incredible, which is that you're able to celebrate yourself, celebrate your body, and be seen for it in a positive and celebratory way. And I mean, that's it. It's like the simplest, most fundamental thing. You exist. You're beautiful, you can be celebrated, you're sexy, you're gorgeous, and let's all be happy together and share in the joy of the diversity of all of the different shades and colors of who we are. And that, I mean, that's what Pride stands for, but it's easy to forget about it as it kind of like gets juxtaposed against this backdrop of this post-apocalyptic, like social media, like world of politics and the more extreme views that are being voiced. And I mean, yes, there is a lot of politics to be talked about, especially around the right for us to exist. But like in a city like Seattle where we already exist, and I saw more trans flags than I did see rainbow flags, which just shocked me. It was beautiful to see just cis people, trans people just being there to support the existence of trans people. It's like incredible. It's sad that there's places in the United States that don't share this feeling, but it's also nice to see the opposite. And I suppose you don't get to hear that much from the news and the outlets about how much support there is. Right? Like the news is only for all the bad stuff because that's what sells, that's what drives attention. You don't want to pay attention to the good stuff. So all the good stuff kind of gets unnoticed. And then for me, I got wrapped up in all of the bad stuff, all of the stuff to be afraid about with Pride, all the stuff that gets me all upset. And then here I am just waving my hands, people are smiling, and I'm smiling back, and I'm seeing you, and you're seeing me, and we're having a really great time, and that's it. Wouldn't it just be great if we could just do that? I feel like a lot of people that are probably anti-trans probably just haven't seen that part, like the sharing and the joy, the sharing of life and the happiness that we're just all human beings. Something that shocked me when Adore, the redhead that I have a video with, she's got trans friends, and she introduced me to, I think, like 30 trans friends at one brunch. And when I looked around the table, all I saw was like, well, first of all, I did see all the trans memes, right? Like the cat girls, the goth girls, the trans nerd, the trans engineers, and are there any other main archetypes that I saw? The butch trans femmes. But then I saw a bunch of other kind of trans skater girl. And when I looked around the room, I thought to myself, yeah, you know, we have categories for trans people, but they're just like cis people. Surprise! Like trans people are just as diverse as cis people. It's just right now, because we don't have a lot of representation, we do need some identity or some place to gather, some place to be. So like for you, like I'm thinking about this for you, like how do I communicate this? It's like, how do you communicate your diversity, and how do you also present yourself in spaces where you can share joy and maybe even create some kind of a bridge for people that you may not normally engage with. For the first 15 minutes when I was on the mobile, like waving, it was a little jarring to just make eye contact with a stranger and connect with them. There's something there when you look at someone's eyes and you wave. There's a communication. And I saw so many different kinds of people, like old, young, like some people who are covered, some people are not. Just that connection, and just like, hey, I see you, you see me. Hell yeah. Some people were stoked to see me. Some people were just like more interested in their phones. And like, I wasn't trying to be seen. I didn't need them to see me, but I knew that because I'm on a float, I play the role of giving the energy out, if that makes sense. And like, as someone that has already transitioned and walks around just normally, I don't feel like I want to be seen. And maybe this is just a trans thing, but do you feel, if you're trans, do you feel like you don't want to be seen typically in public because you're afraid, because of safety? I feel like if someone is looking at me, I feel nervous. I feel more nervous about them looking at me versus the chance that they're actually checking me out. And I've been told that I get checked out by the people that I date, but like, I'm trying to avoid that because I don't know if they're a stranger, if they've clocked me, if I'm in danger. And there's a big sigh there, because I think it's just like an underlying thing of being trans. It's like you just have this extra layer of danger. You have a danger as a trans woman, you have the additional layer of being a woman, you have that additional layer of being a trans woman, which in the eyes of some people is like a terrible thing, right? So, like, to kind of like wind back my thoughts a little bit, I think like there's this principle of remembering to revisit your worldview. And this is super important, because if you don't revisit your worldview, then the world kind of diverges from reality. Your worldview diverges from reality. And the further it diverges, the less accurate your thoughts and decision making is going to be. And the worse your decisions are ultimately going to be. And I remember reading this in a non-related like LGBT context, but in terms of running your own business, it's like you want people that have like leadership, that have the ability to really keep questioning their worldview so they can really like understand what's going on. Like, I think this is especially a big deal in tech, because if you think it's going this way and you're just projecting your worldview onto the world, you can get lost and go the wrong direction. And I think from a personal development perspective, this concept is really important, because you have preconceptions, you have bias, and it's easier to lean into that bias and even double down on your bias than it is to just take a step back and go, hey, let me just check myself. Let me reevaluate what I'm seeing here. What is this about? And I can only speak from my personal experience of going to Pride here in Seattle, going to Pride in Berlin, and going to Pride in San Francisco, and LA. And the vibe here in Seattle is like way hard on the trans thing. Like, they are so pumped up about trans people. It's crazy. I feel like 10% of the people that I saw with trans flags were actually trans, and the other 90% were just there to be like, fuck yeah, trans people, let's go. So I thought that was really cool. It didn't feel like the San Francisco vibe, which is like gay cis males everywhere, wanting to get drunk and fucked up, and then students. And then Berlin was like a bunch of students, but I didn't even feel like completely safe there because Berlin is Berlin. It's a bit more edgy. So like when you're thinking about kind of like your own preconceptions of your worldview and how you're seeing the current climate, just go out there and test. That's my suggestion to you, is go out there and test your worldview a little bit. Like, are there things, or even just like question your worldview, are there things that you're right about? Are there things that you're not so right about, but you're not willing to admit that you're wrong? In my transition, it's probably the biggest thing before I even started. The biggest thing in my life was to admit that I was wrong. To admit that I had been playing on the role of being a man my entire life. And I was so committed to that image and that idea. And I self-deceived myself from it. And I just kind of kept going because I was like, this is the way it is. Until everything comes crashing down and you realize this is not the way it is. This is not how it's supposed to be. And that was like the most ego like destroying moment of my life, because I realized, well, if this is wrong, then everything else is possibly wrong. Have you ever had that kind of feeling in your life where you realize your worldview has kind of taken you to a point where you just stepped too far in the wrong direction, and it can cause a crisis or something like that, where you have like a reckoning, so to speak? These reckonings are good. I mean, it's good to recognize that you've diverged really far. But like, do you always have to get yourself into those kind of situations? Like, are there like smaller points in which you can allow your thoughts to kind of grow and iterate upon your worldview? So yeah, I'm wrong. I feel like that was my takeaway from this experience in a positive light, in a way where I forgot about the fundamentals of this experience. It's just about happiness. It's about wanting to acknowledge one another and to share in that happiness. There was almost no politics. The only politics I saw, and there were like not many drag queens. I heard that in some places there's a bajillion drag queens, the dragification of things. There were not many drag queens. But there was a little bit of politics. There were some protesters that came in that were like queer, and they were like queers against Boeing and some other companies. And I didn't fully understand it, and it felt like really off vibe to the rest of the Pride Festival. And like that kind of underlined it for me as well. It's like, there's a time and a place for these darker edge political rallies, but sometimes the most political thing you can do is to take back your power and say, you know what, fuck you, I'm going to be happy and I'm going to enjoy myself. Like how much more power would you have if you just kind of felt that when you walked out the door and you said, you know, fuck all of this stuff that repressed me. I'm just going to be happy anyways because I have my autonomy and I have my power. It's like, it reminds me of the Buddhists and also like imprisonment and what happened I'm thinking of specifically China and like the Tibetans being imprisoned. And like, how would you approach that? You may not have physical freedom anymore, but they can't get in your mind. They can't stop you from having freedom within. And there's this story of Buddha being hacked to bits. It's super brutal, right? In one of his past lives. And in that past life, he was able to detach himself and realize that he was not the body that he was experiencing. And like, I don't know if we have to take it that far. But like the premise is like, can you find that space in your mind to create your own freedom? I'm practicing this, and maybe this is a practice worth trying for yourself. I call it planting seeds, and maybe I should make another video on this, but like, your thoughts are seeds to how you're going to feel, how your subconscious creates, and that subconscious creates, and then it turns into feelings, and then it turns into an experience. And we have this part in our brain, the reptilian part of our brain, that's looking for risks, looking for danger. That lurking part that's deeper down within us that has anxiety, and I have this a lot. And negative thoughts kind of like condition and provide sustenance for this reptilian anxiety piece, where the piece of the brain that has anxiety is looking for things to be anxious about. And the more that you feed it these seeds, these negative thoughts, unconsciously, the more it kind of like finds validation in its existence. Like, those moments where you feel like, oh, like I everything's fine, but I still feel a little uneasy. And everything is fine, but I just still feel a little uneasy. It's that the perpetual stress aspect of our lives. Try finding just a thought or a feeling. Here it is. Try to find that thought or feeling that allows you to kind of plant a positive idea, a positive thought in yourself. And the way that I visualize this, and maybe you can try this visualization, is to just literally find a positive feeling, like I can feel good, is a mantra you could try using. And just imagine a seed just being planted in your heart. Now, you don't need to look for proof. You don't need to look for, did it work? Like, the best thing to do is not to have any expectations and not even look for any change in feeling, but to just plant the positive seed and to keep planting it. Thankfulness, gratefulness. I'm so thankful I'm alive today. I'm so thankful that I have a roof above my head. I'm so thankful that I have people that I love. Just plant something and then move on with your day, and within 15 minutes, within an hour, within a few hours, you may just be like, hey, I'm smiling, I'm feeling good. And this is the most political part of this action, is all of the social media and everything that's online and out there creating all this negativity is really just about programming your subconscious. If you want to, I studied this in mass media, it's like if you want to control a population, you need to keep them in a state of fear, and you need to use all the platforms, or at the time when I was studying, it was like you use television to project your power into planting these negative seeds. And now it's really just in social media. If you plant these positive seeds, you're able to kind of turn off that part that gives into the fear and to start operating at a higher level where you can think more critically, you can feel like you have more of your energy collected, and then you can go about your day and take action on the things that are going to make your life better. And when you do that, when you're making better quality decisions because you're happier, you're going to live a better life. You're going to do things that are better for you and better for other people. And maybe that's one of the most political things you can do. SelfCare, happiness, these are very strong political things. And I think oftentimes you may think, well, politics means protesting. Politics means going out there and showing up and holding like your sign. And that is a form of protesting. And sometimes it's necessary to do these things. But like, it's not a 24/7 thing. This is a sustained long run. For me, this is my politics. Like, your mental health is the most important thing in my mind. In what I do is creating for you positive mental health. Even if you're not trans, not political, it's like the more mentally healthy people we have, the better decisions we're going to have. And the most important thing is that you are authentically you to yourself and to the rest of the world. Because if you can find who you are and what you want to do, then you can go do the thing that is most authentic and best for you. And I believe it's going to be good for the planet and good for humankind to have people that love themselves, that are authentic with themselves, that are authentic with the world around them, and are following and doing the things that feel right to them. I just don't think you can do wrong if you have all of those things lined up. What do you think? Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you in another episode soon. Bye.